Island.
The rules are simple, because there's no rules. Except when you die, you're out. Anything can happen. There can be peace, there can be wars, or there can be murders. 17 players are on the island. How many will survive 100 days? This is about to get interesting. If you guys go on to enjoy this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, and subscribe. I'm getting so close to 1 million subscribers, and I'm hoping to smash it by the end of this year. But enjoy the journey. So day one began stranded on an island with no food and 16 other potential dangerous players. This is every man for themselves. I did notice though that a wandering trader had spawned in right next to us, which was kind of cool. But instead of grabbing wood like the rest, I began exploring the island. Now I knew that this was a custom island, so I knew that there was goods to be found. Like that shipwreck over there, which I didn't get to go to because someone else found it before me. But I wasn't gonna miss the next treasure. A little while later, I stumbled across a broken down house. Might not be much, but to a person like me who cannot build, this is an absolute treasure to find. And not only was it just a shelter, I also had a chest inside with fish, cactus, and the main thing being a fishing rod, which is perfect. Now I have a way of getting food. And on an island that we're stuck on currently right now, that's pretty good. So straight away I knew I was making this little broken down house my temporary humble abode. I was claiming it. So then I was happy to grab some wood. I didn't want to get too greedy and go exploring because if I move away from here, I could lose this location and someone else could claim it. This section of the island is mine. I did all the Minecraft things, you know, grabbing some wood, then going to the top of the mountain, breaking some stone, and making myself some stone tools. That's when Emil visited me with a bed for us all to sleep in, which would allow us to go past the day one night, which will be huge since none of us have shelter. And this was the only shelter on the island, and I owned it. So Emil allowed me to place down his bed inside my little shack. As I needed food, I began fishing for a little bit, but I did notice there was a lot of players crowded around me who were definitely interested in my fishing rod, and I was kind of scared that someone would kill me, but I thought it's day one, no one's gonna kill me right now, right? I hope not. So I just did my own thing and fished. That's when I got the news that a pack of wild dogs, or wolves, were killing all the wild sheep, and we couldn't have that. And me not thinking, went straight up to the top of the hill, tried to tame one but didn't. We then tried to bury the dog so that we could tame them later on, but realized, okay, let's just get 2 inside there, which we managed to get 2, but there were a lot more dogs than just 2. And they had to go. They were killing all our wild sheep. That's when I decided to be a hero and to try and take out one of the dogs. I was in trouble. The dogs were chasing me. No one was helping me. I was screaming for help. I tried to go inside, but this broken house had too many ways of getting in. At this point, I was thinking, the other survivors want me to die. They want my rod. I was paranoid. But they did end up helping. And that's how I nearly died on day 1 by a pack of wolves. That night, some of the survivors on the island took refuge in my house. On day 2 morning, we all said that we'd meet in the middle of the map to discuss where we're going to make our home, and also to meet everybody. Some people came, some people didn't. This is where we tried to discuss where our plots are going to be. I said that I was going to have the beach plot where I was by the house, all that area with the lava pool surrounding and by the water, and other people said their plots. We all agreed and we were all cool with it. And then we went our different ways. At the meeting, we killed a few rogue skeletons and I got some bones. I used it on this dog and I tamed him and I brought him home. Not much of a home, but it's something, okay? And at this point, I don't even know what to name him, but I'm just happy to have some company. With a dog in the house, this is when my home really felt like a home. So I labeled my house Ryan's Shack. Beautiful. I was exploring around the map when I stumbled across a wild pig, a rare commodity on an island in the middle of nowhere. So I rushed straight back home to grab some wheat before someone else either killed that cow or stole it for themselves. I was getting this cow. I dug a hole for it, and just as I dug a hole, I noticed that someone was building on my land. I said I was claiming this, and they all agreed. So I went over to him and asked him kindly to go make his tree base somewhere else. I said he can make his tree base anywhere he wants. Look at there. There's plenty of trees over there. He agreed, and he kindly left. This is my piece of land. It's every man for themselves. You gotta lay down the law. That's when I went back to grab my wheat to go back for that cow. I can't lose it. When I got back to the area, I couldn't find the cow. It had just disappeared. But the thing had climbed the mountain, which I didn't see, and was heading towards another survivor's base. I got it just in the nick of time. Now, I just gotta bring him home. With night falling, I'm getting anxious about the mobs. And there we go. We finally got him home. We stuck him into a hole. He's now mine. No one else can have him. I decided to get started on a bit of a mine near my base. This is hardcore after all, and I do need to be wearing armor. It's not only mobs that I have to worry about, there are other players on the island with intentions that I do not know yet. Digging a mine shaft down though is relatively safe, right? I'm digging a stairs down, there's no risk of death. Nothing's gonna happen. Wrong. That could have nearly ended this series, and it's only day 3. Gravel falling beneath my feet. Imagine there was lava there, I would have been dead. That was enough for me for a second. I had to get out of there. I just needed to take it easy. My heart was pounding already from a fall. So, I headed back up. When I got back up to the mine, it was already day 4. I noticed when I got home, my bed had been taken. But then I realized it technically wasn't my bed because Emil did give it to me. But my bed was gone. And then I looked outside my window and I saw Jack, or Turton, building on my land. And I went over, aggressively, as you can see. Telling him, you know, this is my land, I claimed at the meeting, you weren't there, rules are rules. And I think the only reason why he didn't potentially kill me or run me off my land was because I said that everyone else agreed with me this was mine. Jack wasn't at that meeting, so I had numbers on my side and people backing me up. Lucky. Very, very lucky I was. After a little heated conversation back and forth, he finally left, and the land was still mine for now. This is when I went around the place, placing down signs saying Ryan's land, so everybody knew this was mine. With the iron that I got from making the mine shaft, I decided to make as much armor as I could. That's when Emil returned. He had taken his bed back, but was also giving me a bed for my base. I don't know why he did this. That's when he angered an Enderman. And asked if I killed it, I would get the bed. Now, to be perfectly honest, I didn't really want to battle the Enderman. I thought I was going to die, but then Raven came along to help me out. So we got rid of that threat pretty quick. Then I noticed somebody blocking up to the surface. It was Mob. I was pretty annoyed. I was like, this is my land, and you're doing this. But karma got him pretty quick. That'll teach him. He ran off, embarrassed by the seams of it. That's when, like a quest, Emil just dropped into bed as if I, did something. It's like an NPC came to me and was like, hey, do this and I will give you a bed. That's what it felt like. But I got a bed. I was happy out. And then for the rest of day 4, I kind of ended up fishing for a bit more food. Day 5 when I was still fishing, that's when General Guacamole came to visit me. He was the guy making that awful tower on top of that hill, but that tower was a church for the whole entire server. He was our priest of the server. He was looking for some food, so I gave him a puffer fish. And then felt bad and gave him some actual real food, which was salmon, but I was saving my fish for something else. For myself, and also, I made a deal with a guy who had a spare cow. And the deal was, I will give him 5 salmon for 1 cow. Good deal when you're living on an island, I must admit. So I went over there. I gave him his fish, and I took the cow. Do you remember the 2 wolves that we put in the hole? Well, yeah, they got loose, and they came to attack me. And I couldn't run. They jumped me me in broad daylight. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I didn't want to die on day 6. They're just wolves. I couldn't run. That's when Emil came out of nowhere and saved me. I'd like to say that anyway, because Emil's a legend. After all that time of running away, I was surprised my cow wasn't killed or taken. These cows are rare. There's not many of them on the island. Finally, I got the cow back to the hole, and now I had 2. I was able to breed. Lovely. After that, this is when I decided to adventure back into the mine, go into the cave that I fell into, and start mining for a while. On day 7, I returned to the surface. I returned to a thunderstorm. Non-stop rain in a broken down house. I didn't feel safe. I felt like a mob or a creeper was going to drop right in the roof any second. But from the mining session, the most noticeable thing I got was 13 diamonds, which is pretty sick. But I started making like an underground cellar. This was going to be like my little chest room where I was going to keep my stuff organized, and also at the moment a little bit of protection, because I was scared the mob was going to come right into my base, like I said, and blow everything up. I just didn't want that happening, so I went underground a little bit and started making an underground area. And that's when it happened. Our first survivor had been eliminated. There are now only 15 of us left. And it was its fusion. The guy I ran off my land. The guy who wanted to live in a tree base. We all rushed to the scene, but it was too late. He was gone. A creeper in the thunderstorm climbed up his ladder in his tree and blew him to smithereens. It wasn't long until we were all raiding his chest. That's when we came up to the church, because General Guacamole, the priest of the server, said he was making a graveyard for all of us. Kind of a bit sinister, but he's a good person, I think. After that, I went back working on my cellar and got it done. I decided to label all the chests, and my goal throughout this season is to hopefully keep it organized. I'm really bad for that. Day 9, I was still working on my cellar, trying to make a lava bin, when we got the news again that a survivor had died. This time, it was extra sad. It was Emil Ruse, the guy who saved me from the ravaged dogs. The hero, a close friend, died to lava. This time, there was no scene to go to. He died somewhere underground. There was no finding him. Everything that was with him was long gone, burnt to a crisp. And as quickly as he died, we tore down his house. But I didn't tear it down like raiding. I wanted to use these blocks to something. To remember Emil. I know I'll have some use for him soon. So now, not only is day 10 going to be a funeral for its fusion, it's also going to be a funeral for Emil. There are now 14 survivors on the island. Day 10, we gathered at the graveyard. It was still kind of being made, so we kind of hung around and waited. We made graves for fusion, who lasted from day 1 to day 7. And of course, Emil Ruse survived day 1 to day 9. Inside Emil's chest, I put his base inside there. We all had a moment of silence. So on day 11, I finally had the cellar done. I moved all my stuff in, I had it nicely organized, it was looking good. This is when I wanted to start gathering up materials. Wood, stone, you name it. And now I had a place to store it, all nicely organized. So I started mining the trees around me, replanting them of course as much as I could. But then I remembered, maybe I should adventure out and destroy another part of the island. Maybe not the side of the island that I live on. Yeah, that's kind of selfish, but I was still gonna replant the trees as much as possible. So that's what I did. I adventured to the other side of the island. It was also an excuse to explore, and I found a bit of forest and I started chopping it down. Loads of trees. I knew I would get plenty of wood. Now this was a fairly boring task to do, but then things got exciting. Raven down a house. He tried to escape, but I was luckily in the area. I just had no clue whose house this was. And the scary thing was, I was the only one to see Raven. People could easily think this was me. I tried my best to put out the fire, but it was too late. When Jack said that this was his base, or his old base should I say, this is when I knew the information of James doing it, but I didn't say anything. I got into a private call with Jack, and I told him I know who did it. This is when he told me the information that this was his old house. He's now moved location, so he got a lucky escape. I said, let me deal with Raven, and I'm gonna get you some compensation for this. Just because he moved doesn't mean Raven shouldn't get any repercussions. This is an island where we all have to get on. We all have to live together. This is when I called an island meeting. Everybody except Raven to meet in the middle of the island. I said the truth. I said that I saw Raven doing it, and I said Raven shouldn't be allowed to do this kind of stuff. He shouldn't be able to do what he wants and get away with it. He was guilty, and I spotted him. And he probably would have framed somebody else if I didn't spot him. It could have been me, easily. So as a group, we all demanded justice. We all headed over to Raven, and Fatal, who was kind of helping him out, allowed him to enchant. We asked Fatal to hand over his enchantment table because he was helping out Raven when he knew he was just after burning down a house. At that point, it didn't matter. Fatal's enchantment table was Raven's enchantment table. Together, both at the same time, Fatal and James said no, proving they were working together. That's when I took a dig at Fatal. With rage, I attempted to kill him, but he got into the water and then calmed down a bit. I asked again. What we wanted was Raven's beloved and cherished fishing rod and the enchantment table. As you can see here, he nearly tried to kill General Guacamole, our priest. This might not look like it, but this was a standoff. With numbers on our side, they had no other choice. They handed over the fishing rod and their armor and the enchantment table. The enchantment table and the fishing rod went to Jack, the person whose house had been burnt down. I kept the armor though, as the group agreed that someone might try to take my life, and that might be Raven. This is when the island started to not feel so safe. I had to watch my back now. Day 13 began definitely with a different feeling, but I didn't want to get distracted from actually surviving on the island. There was still a lot of work to be done. From all the saplings that I got from breaking all the trees down, I decided to plant them on this little branch of the island so that I'd have my own trees to hopefully break and not have to be leaving the safety of my home too much. Also, I was going extremely low on food, so I began fishing. This is when I luckily fished myself out a saddle. How cool! And one of the survivors on the island actually have a horse with no use. So now if I save up, I can actually buy it. I could be the only person on the island with a horse. How sick would that be? Day 14, I mined out a little tunnel for cobblestone. When I came back up to the surface, I noticed there was another thunderstorm, which really reminded me I need to start fixing up this house. I now have the wood, and I now have the cobble. So I started getting to work on fixing up the broken down house, which probably wasn't the best idea to do in a thunderstorm. So I patched up as quick as I could and hid in my basement until the rain went away. On day 16, the rain finally stopped, and I could see clearly now that I had to fix up this base. So I got to work.
No, brother. 4 man sa pamilya dyan. Wow. Awa. I'm so crazy.
Now, I don't think this is going to be my home for the whole entire 100 days, but I definitely wanted to leave it here. It was part of the island when we came here, and it stayed. But I must admit, for a person like me who has no confidence in building, just repairing that building gave me a bit of confidence, should I say. And I'm kind of ready to start thinking of my own build. But at this current time, I had no idea what I want to build. I'm just trying to survive. On day 18, I decided to treat my cows and move them up to the surface, instead of them just sitting inside a hole. I'm about to be eating them. It's the least I can do.
See it, man.
Shortly after, I noticed mob coming up to the surface again near my land. Yeah, that's right. He should have learned his lesson the first time. I don't know what it is, but he always comes up like that. After that, I decided to go on the hunt for obsidian. That's when on the hunt for obsidian, we lost another survivor. The deadly creepers have claimed another life. After I got the obsidian that I needed, I decided to make myself an enchantment table. So as it was day 20, I knew that day 50, when we could leave the island, was coming up. And I knew I'd need food, and the best food source I could get were my cows. But I needed wheat, and lots of it. So I got working on a farm. With the rain making it so fitting, we attended Mob EXE's funeral. This was starting to get real now. We were all dropping off like flies. In honor of Mob, and also paranoia for myself, I decided to cover up the lava pool with a nice cool green glass, provided by the cactus surrounding the pool. I like it, it's pretty nice. And that sparked an idea to do like an open workhouse right here. I had an idea. But before that idea can take place, I decided to go mining. I needed a few supplies. I was going low on everything, diamonds, even coal. Who goes low on coal? I enchanted, said goodbye to my cute doggo, and headed down into the mine. On day 31, I returned to the surface with my journey cut short because yet again, another survivor had been lost. This time, it was not a mob that has taken this soul, it was himself. The island was too much for him, and the player was General Guacamole, that person who built the lovely church on the hill. In honor of him, we decided to preserve his church. And the whole idea was to place our community nether portal inside this church. That's what General Guacamole wanted. But General also really wanted a villager's bell. So we decided we will not enter the nether until we bring that bell up to this church. But it'll only be on day 50 when we can get it and adventure out. We built the nether portal in honor of him, but we're waiting. We need to get the bell. For him, you know, it's what he would have wanted. So after my mining trip interrupted, I couldn't be bothered to go back down underground. It's a little boring. I decided to get to work on my little outside workhouse. And I was very nervous for this build because I am the worst builder ever. But let's see what I can do. We lost another life. This time, to the classic fall damage. Thebes had built herself a treehouse. A lovely treehouse. But also, her end. It was over for her. Or was it? At Thebes' funeral, a random act of braveness. Bedwar's Nub, her closest ally and friend, sacrificed himself in an attempt to bring back Thebes. We waited, hoping the gods, or the happens. We waited and waited, but nothing happened. All we ended up with was another dead survivor. Only 11 people remained. But you know what they say, life goes on, and I got back to work. And on day 37, I completed the build. The only thing I had to move in here was the enchantment table with all the books, but I still don't have the leather that I need. But I'll get that in good time. My cow farm was building up with a nice bit of stock. After using the little lever that I did have, I managed to make 11 bookcases. I needed 15 to get level 13 enchants. And I knew that was possible. I had plenty of cows saved up. And that's what I know was a slight problem with my build, and that was, it was very flammable. And I couldn't tell why. I knew there was lava underneath it, but it was separated. I didn't understand. Until JCO came over and told me it was this glass block right here conducting the heat. So I needed to get rid of it. So I did. I was going out of my house with the final bookcases, JCO had brought over his horse with my saddle and gifted it to me. The only horse on the island. It was mine. And it was fairly fast too. And on day 39, I officially completed the outside workhouse. This was going to be the place where I enchant, I repair my gear, and I also store all my supplies like wood, cobble, all that kind of stuff. And then as a break, I took the horse for a cruise. A cruise around the island, looking at everyone's builds, and seeing what island life was like. Because for the last few days, I was obsessed with my build. And I also watched the sunset. But it didn't feel right with me and just the horse. We had only just met each other. I needed my dog here too, so I brought him out. With it going on to day 40, I knew it was 10 days away until we could leave the island. So I decided to fish for the next 9 days, hoping that I would get some type of enchantment book, Prot 4, something like that, so I wouldn't waste any levels. The only noticeable thing that I fished out, and it was on day 44, was a Lure 2 fishing rod. So I combined that with my Unbreaking 3 rod. On day 50, it was time to finally leave the island. Everyone was excited. This was when we could get everything we wanted. Before we left, we all met in the middle of the island. This could be the last time we see each other. Who knows? I forgot to mention, Phoebes returned on day 49. The sacrifice had worked. She's here. But to make this interesting, as we're all excited to leave the island, one of these players is a murderer. Can you guess who it is? Comment it down below. Jack and I decided to venture out together. Stronger in numbers, and we had a good relationship at the time. I wasn't afraid of him, he wasn't afraid of me. And he was way more geared than me, keeping me safe. On day 53, we found a village on an island. We could now get all the things we wanted. I wanted all the tables, the cartography tables, the Fletcher tables, and I found them right here. I also got blast furnaces, and of course, we got General Guacamole's beloved bell. When we get home, we can now enter the Nether in peace. On day 54, we found a shipwreck. It contained a buried treasure map. And we found that treasure. And it had a heart of the sea in it. At this point now, we were miles away from home. We just kind of went in a straight line from where my base was. We ended up finding another village. This time looking for grindstones. We just wanted to get everything off our bucket list before we headed back to the island. This is where we stumbled across Doc. And he joined us on our adventure. Still on the hunt for grindstones and other type of tables, we kept traveling. And on day 62 was the day my journey was going to change forever. Jack had died. At this point I was confused. Jack screamed at me in the Discord, saying he had been murdered by Doc. Doc had knocked him off this hill. And Doc, with the cheeky getaway, is trying to escape. I chased him. I noticed that Doc had a gapple. And Jack had already told me he had a fire sword, so I was panicking. But I wanted to kill him so bad. But I had to escape. This is hardcore after all. And Jack was way more geared than me. I had prop 1, he had prop 3. I ran. My closest friend on the server, dead. Couldn't even do anything about it. I was frustrated. Absolutely frustrated. I waited in the area, hoping that Doc would follow me. Waiting for his golden apple effects to wear off. And then I'd go in again. I kind of thought at this point, if I died on day 62, avenging a friend, I still thought it'll be a really, really good episode. Might not be 100 days, but I fought protecting my friend. He never came my way, so I went back to the scene of the murder. With no murderer to be seen, I was alone. Thousands of blocks out. The only clue I had of Duck's direction was this wood right here. After a while of looking around the area, I found nothing. He wasn't here. He was gone. That's when we both jumped into a call, or should I say I dragged him into a call, and he said he did it for fun. Which, can I just say, in the recording, Jack was absolutely fine with it. This whole series is about trust, and obviously, not everyone's trustworthy. This is when Duck informed me that he will not be coming back to the island, for obvious reasons. But I'll find him. I'll find him. I started making my way home, alone. On day 65, I stumbled across a desert temple, the first one I found, and I vow, when I find Duck's base, I will use this TNT on him, in memory of Jack. On day 66, I returned home. It just didn't feel the same. When we left the island, we were all happy, all in high spirits. Since we were in different Discord calls at the time, most of the server didn't even know that Duck was a murderer. And I suppose, thinking back now, I probably should have warned them, because they're all still out there. I was the only one on the island at the moment. I rushed to Jack's house to make sure no one had raided it. I wanted to keep it safe. I blocked up his house with obsidian and left it how it was, like a tomb. I'll raid it once his death is avenged. On day 67, I waited for others to return, but no one did. It wasn't until day 69 that everyone came back to the island. Everyone rushed back as quick as they could. But everyone was thousands of blocks out. It took time. Jack was loved on the server, so everyone stopped what they were doing and returned home. Journeys cut short. I wasn't ready to come back. But of course, as fitting as it was, I put my heart of the sea inside Jack's grave. We found it together. And obviously, I put my potion of weakness inside there too. Because he was my weakness. But I hate to say it. Again, life moves on. We brought the bell up to the tower. We rang it. It was kind of weird with the server setup right now because we had this big community and then one player on the server living off the island just doing his own thing. That was Duck. There was no way he was coming back. I just couldn't help but think someone could also be a murderer. Someone could be on Duck's side, helping him out. I was always wary. But on day 70, we entered the Nether, all together. With death being a common occurrence, and people dying on just a simple island, I knew there was no way we were going to come out with not one soul at least lost. But I began exploring, carefully and slowly, when I stumbled across a bastion, which was very lucky because I wasn't exploring for that long. I entered alone, scared. There was a lot of lava around. I started trading with the piglins in hopes for ender pearls, but from this bunch, I got nothing. That's when I jumped off and began looting the chest. I thought the chests were safe to open. I thought the gold is what they didn't like being touched. But they don't like the chest either. But it was just one of them, right? That was a close one. My heart was racing. But I kept going. Trying to get to that chest in the middle of the island and get those warts too. That's when a familiar face came along. Jacio, 14. The guy who had gifted me that amazing horse. He was here to help. With him here, I kind of got a second ounce of bravery. I just went for it. We shared the warts, but that sense of bravery ended very soon. JC was in trouble. But before I could get to him, it was too late. The piglins had gone. Just like that, gone. The lava consumed him. It's like he never existed. Only 9 survivors left. At the end of day 71, I began trading. Again. In the hopes of some pearls. On day 74 I returned home. With a new crossbow from the Bastion and 4 ender pearls. As an island we knew now that we had enough ender pearls to head to the end. But before we could do that, of course, we couldn't go without remembering a certain somebody. JCO 14, who helped us get this far. This was a reminder that the Nether is a dangerous place, even when you're 75 days in. This is when as an island we got kind of emotional, because we've realized how many people we have lost. And on the graves when he said day 71, we realized these players have been here for a long time. JCO was a huge life to lose. But on day 76, we kept trucking, heading towards the stronghold. And on day 81, we reached it. It was a fascinating stronghold, with a mushroom island right next to it. We found the portal, and put the eyes in, and entered the end. Time to take down the Ender Dragon. With 8 of us taking out the Ender Dragon, we knew it would be easy. And it was. What wouldn't be easy is fighting over the 100 XP levels that drop. It was luck of the draw. Which I drew the short end. I got no levels. We got the egg and noticed that there was an end city not far away. But everyone was excited, everyone was happy. Except myself. I feel like something was missing. It felt weird. Someone was sitting on the server, getting away with murder. That person was Duck. So as they all entered the end city, I returned home. With one simple mission. To avenge Jack and kill Duck. On day 82, I set out. Looking at the house and everything we built, just in case I died. At least it'll be in my memory. Or in my video, should I say. On day 89, I returned to the scene and put down something to mark the area. I wish I had a bit more, but at least it's something, you know? That's when I headed out to search for Duck. But quite a few days later, I found nothing. Now, I must admit, guys, I was definitely AFK for some time as I was searching. I was just running around the place. I found nothing. I didn't know what to do. So on day 99, I decided to return and to spend the big day with my friend, Jack. He was here, just in GM3 watching me. That's the equivalent of a ghost, right? As the sun set, I thought about everything we've done, the people we lost. And how many people will we lose in the next 200 days? I hope no one, except Duck. So on day 100, without any time to waste, I began the hunt. Thank you guys for watching this 100 days. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, let me know down below. And do you want to see 200 days of this? Thank you for watching.
Alright, you listen to this, right? Me tell you what. Mommy, guess what? I basically am telling you that